Are you ready to turn heads? Luxury isn't just worn, it's experienced. Introducing a Layla Cara style and new up-and-coming designer collection where exclusive shoes and bags for men and women meets your feet. How about you take a handbag and wear it in style, where each piece is personally designed by Alayla Carroll herself and handcrafted from the finest material in Italy. Leather, smooth like butter, bold, timeless, distinctly you. Step into true elegance and make your mark with a Layla Cara style where confidence meets craftsmanship. Visit a Layla Cara style and experience the luxury of art that you wear. Welcome back. Welcome back to Improving Your Thoughts by Freeing Yourself. I am your host, Alayla Carroll, and today we are in episode number 4. So, today's topic is about how fear keeps you from your purpose and why you don't need to be brave yet. Now, there will be a time when you have to be brave, when you need to be brave, and when you should be brave. But this episode is why you don't need to be brave yet, okay? So today's conversation is for anyone who feels stuck, not because you don't know what you want, but because fear keeps getting the last word. Word up. Look, I'm acting my age now. I'm telling my age when I said that one. Yeah, anyway, so if you've ever told yourself, I'll do it when I get more confidence. I need to be brave, or I need more bravery. Well, once I'm not afraid anymore, then I'll move. Well, this episode is for you, because we have all said these words at some point in our lives, especially when we have to get on stage in front of a crowd and perform or to do a speech. That's that fear that creeps up, right? And it's a feeling that makes you feel that you're going to be embarrassed or you're going to mess up. It's a lot of things that come with that. Because the truth, I need you to know this, because the truth is you don't need to be brave to live your purpose. You just need to believe in yourself. And by the end of this episode, I want you to feel relieved, not pressured. Let's talk about redefining fear. What is it? Okay, let's redefine it. Let's start by clearing something up. Fear is not weakness. Fear is not failure. Fear is not proof that you're on the wrong path. Most of the time, it's the opposite. That you are on the right path. If fear doesn't show up when you are about to make a huge decision or a huge life change or anything that is huge in your life, you're about to make a decision, then you need to look deeper into what changes you are about to make, because it might not be part of your destiny or your purpose. Fear is not a protector. Fear can paralyze you and keep you from your destiny if you let it control you. And many of us have done this. And there are so many out there that are doing it right now to this moment, afraid to step out on faith. So instead you live in fear. Knowing that your heart is not into whatever it is that you're doing, you're still choosing to stay where you're at because you are afraid of the unknown. Whenever fear shows up, count it all joy because you are headed in the right direction. I want you to remember this. God doesn't give us the spirit of fear. He gives us the spirit of love, power, and of a sound mind. Always remember this. I need you to remember this. When fear shows up, He gives us love so we can love ourselves and love others. Remember, love conquers all. He gives us power to be strong and press through the fear. He gives us a sound mind so we can make the right decision without allowing fear to lead us. Now, don't get me wrong. Fear can be good. It can be a good thing only in this aspect, okay? Only when at some point in your life, fear can only help you survive in situations where helping you stay alert in environments where being relaxed and comfortable isn't safe for you. So, if fear shows up when you think about change, purpose, or alignment, nothing has gone wrong. Just know that fear learned its job well. The power of love always, always defeat fear. Remember that too. The problem is, it isn't fear. That's not your problem. The problem is letting fear make your decision. That is where the problem lies. So if we can change that, then you can find yourself being in a position where you're able to make a sound-minded decision. Now let's talk about how fear disguises itself. Fear rarely says, "I'm scared." Fear is subtle. Fear sounds like, "Be realistic. Don't ruin what you already have." Often people have it worse. There's other people who have it worse than you. Now, isn't the right time. So that's what I was trying to get out. I get tongue tied, you guys. I told you this earlier in my podcast season, so bear with me when I twist my words. I need you to hear this again, so I'm going to repeat it so that way you can get it. And it might be you. You might have heard these things before. And sometimes it can come from yourself, your inner self. Then sometimes it can come from other people around you. So if you heard these things before, I need you to recognize that it is fear in disguise. Okay, so once again, let's go over this again. So fear rarely says, "I'm scared." Fear is subtle. Fear sounds like, this is how it sounds: "Be realistic. Don't ruin what you already have. Other people have it worse than you. Now isn't the right time." Fear disguises itself as logic. Responsible is not what fear is. You might think, "I'm being responsible if I stay where I'm at because it's working for me." Is it really working for you though? Ask that question. Whatever it is that you're doing, is it really working for you? Are you really truly happy? Are you relaxed when you're doing what you're doing? Are you getting up in the morning cheerful, ready to get on with your day and tackle the world? Now, every day isn't going to be like that, even when you are doing and living in your purpose, but in a way that you know that you are aligned with your destiny, with your purpose in life, fear will not be in the way to where you make a decision based off of it. Instead, you'll know that fear is lurking around, but you will not allow it to be in the way. So responsibility, maturity, and because it sounds realistic to you or it sounds reasonable, that's the reason why we listen. You have to know that it's okay to take care of your responsibilities. Yes, you do need to be mature about your decisions. But here's the key difference. I need you to be able to have something to compare it to, all right? Fear speaks urgently, like very quick. It rushes, it pressures, it shames you, make you feel bad about what you're going to do. Purpose never does that. It never does it. Purpose speaks calmly. Purpose invites you in. Purpose wait for your nervous system to say, I feel safe enough to respond to this. So let's talk about fear versus intuition, because sometimes we think it's our intuition that's talking to us when it's actually fear that's talking to us. So we have to be able to discern the difference between the two. So let's talk about that right now. One of the most important description and the most important distinction you will ever learn is the difference between fear and intuition. You got to know the difference. Fear is loud. Intuition is quiet. Fear says, what if something goes wrong? Intuition asks, what feels honest right now? Fear focuses on worst case scenario. Fear is pessimistic. Intuition focuses on alignment and is optimistic. If something feels frantic, overwhelming, or filled with pressure, it's fear. Know that. If you feel heart palpitations, you sweating, or you get very nervous, like very nervous, that's fear. And it's also anxiety, because that's what actually anxiety is. Anxiety is fear of the unknown, of something that might happen, even though it probably won't happen. Just let you know, that's what anxiety is. So if something feels calm, steady, and grounding, even if it's unfamiliar, that's intuition. Your purpose will always feel steadier than your fear. Okay? So, why don't we talk about bravery right now? Let's talk about that. Why you don't need to be brave in this moment, because you're just discovering you're just discovering your intuition about your purpose, and being just brave automatically without wisdom is putting you in danger. Okay, so that's why you don't need to be brave right now. You just need to know. So in this series, I'm teaching you how to recognize your purpose, and I'm teaching you about being able to overcome your fears, and I'm teaching you when the right time to be brave. So right now it's not the right time to be brave. Don't go quitting your job. Don't go talking crazy to someone because you've been finally wanting to do it. I mean, be subtle about your decision in this moment. Just take all the information in, let it soak, literally let it soak into your spirit. I want you to sort it out. That way you can get familiar with fear as well as intuition, and you will know when it's time to be brave to step out. And I mean, step out on faith. Whatever it is that you are doing at the moment, you might not even need to make some changes. You're probably already doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you find out you're actually living in your purpose. So take it easy, okay? Relax. Take it easy. Don't go make no drastic decision. Talking about, oh, Layla Carol told me to do this. No, I didn't. I'm telling you right now to relax and just take the information in. absorb it, and now let's sort it out and see where your life is aligning with what you're learning and discovering about yourself. And then, and only then, if you need to make changes, then you make the proper changes at the proper moment. I didn't say time, did I? I said moment, because when that moment hit you, it's just going to hit you and you're going to know it's time to make the change. All right?
We'll be back after a quick break.
If you haven't already, check out my luxury shoe and bag collection, a Layla Cara style. Each piece is personally designed by me and handcrafted from genuine Italian leather. Whether you're dressing up or keeping it casual, these pieces were made to help you walk with confidence. Because real style starts from how you feel. Go to alaylacarolstyle.com and experience these bold, timeless, and completely all you. Check it out. You might find something you like. Now let's talk about bravery. So we glorify bravery as a big deal. We do. We make a big deal out of people who are brave. And that's mainly because we don't see too many people that stepping out on faith or that actually choose to go off of impulse other than thinking things through in dangerous situations, and they actually succeed in whatever it is that they chose to do. That is bravery. So, but we need to know that bravery often look like forcing yourself past your limits, ignoring your body, overriding your needs. Purpose does not require self-betrayal. You don't need courage. You don't need honesty. You don't need courage, but you do need honesty. Honesty sounds like, this drains me. This no longer fits. I'm tired of pretending it's okay. And I'm tired of pretending I'm okay. When you feel those thoughts and you're feeling that feeling, that is when it's time to realize a change needs to be made. Don't just drastically make the change. Prepare for your change. All right? Make the plan. Set out a plan. Write things down. And go step by step how you're going to make that change. That would be the best way to help you to make the perfect change without making a decision that is going to alter your life and hurt you. And not only you, but others around you. Okay? Especially if you have children or you're married or anything like that. Or someone is dependent on you. You have to know that if someone is dependent on you and it's not a minor or it's not your spouse who is trying to get on their feet, and I mean trying to get on their feet, literally they're out searching for a job or whatever, they're not just mooching off of you, then be slow to make this change until your spouse get on their feet or your kids get to a place in their point where they can understand mom or dad or just made a decision for me, not just for them, but for me too. I'm saying this because sometimes people make decisions and they just didn't think it through. So I remember when I got two scenarios, matter of fact. The first time I ever stepped out on faith, I was 18 years old. And I didn't know that's what it was called at that time. All I knew was I needed to make a change. And that change was, and I remember telling this story before in other podcasts, but the reason why I'm telling it again in this podcast, because this is actually in the lines of why I'm able to talk to you guys today. When I was 18 years old, my mom and my brother was in cahoots. Well, at least I thought they were. They was in cahoots of me getting away from this particular guy that I was dating. Now, I was 17 when I met the guy, and I remember finding out he was older than he told me he was. He actually lied to me about his age. So he happened to be 26 years old at the time, and I thought 26 was so old. I really did. Looking back at it, that's just my mindset. I was young, so I was 17. I thought 26 was like 30, 40, and 50 old. So like I say, keep living and you'll know, right? So anyways, I needed to get away from him. My brother got me away from him. And it was more to the story because we ended up jumping. Me and my brother ended up jumping him, fighting him, and all that stuff together. It was a bunch of stuff. Anyways, and I did tell a full story in another podcast. But anyways, I want to just get to the point. The thing is that I didn't want to live in our hometown where I was from, and it's a very, very small town. And coming from San Antonio back to this small town, it was a culture shock to me. And I felt like I didn't belong. I knew I actually didn't belong. But I knew the people because I grew up with them when I was a little girl all the way to 14. So I knew these people. It wasn't like I didn't know them. It's just I saw something in them that I didn't see in myself. What I saw was poverty and complacency. Like they was just comfortable being where they were. And I was so not comfortable. I wanted more for my life. Now, not everybody was like that, but for the ones who were, I saw it in them heavily. And to this day, those same people are still in Bay City and not doing anything with their lives. They didn't have, some of them have multiple children, and their children, sorry, but some of their kids got involved with gang, and some locked up, and some got killed. I ain't gonna say passed away, got killed because they, living that life. And I was like, I can't do this to myself. I gotta get out of here. So when I was 18, I made a decision to move on my own. And I prepared myself. This is why I say prepare for this. You're going to make the change, but you're going to prepare for the change too. Make a plan, make a plan. So I prayed about it and everything. And I remember leaving for the first time. I snuck out the window, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I snuck out the window to go walk to the bus station to leave to go to San Antonio. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, don't do it like this. And he was telling me about my mother, knowing that I was going to hurt her. And he was like, don't do it this way. And plus, at that time, I didn't write no letter, no nothing. I was just leaving. So that means I would have been claimed a missing person, even though I was 18. But I went back, and I went back in through the window. I waited until about later that day when the sun was up, and a friend of mine who knew that I was planning on leaving, he drove by my house, and he came up to me and he said, hey, how's it going? And I told him and everything what I was planning on doing, and he was like, hey, I'll take you to the bus station. And I wrote my mother a letter, and I got on the bus. To make a long story short, I don't want to go in full detail, I did that already. I got on the bus, and I rode the bus to San Antonio. Now, that was the most scariest thing in my life. That was the most scariest decision I had ever had to make. But it was the best decision that I had ever made. And I look back on this day and I say to myself, I was very brave at that time to make that decision. But not only I was brave, I knew my purpose wasn't there. I knew it. Now I had some motivation. What was my motivation? Well, I was in love with this guy, and his name was Guy. And I literally wanted to be around him. And that situation didn't go well because when I realized that it's funny how time changes, and it's funny how so much can just happen and change your mind, because that's exactly what happened after dealing with the situation with the girl that he got pregnant and her trying to fight me, and it was a bunch of stuff that happened with that. I decided I don't want to be with this dude, so I decided to what you call be celibate for a year. Celibate, yes, no sex, period, for a year. And think it through. What is it I'm going to do with myself? What I want to do with myself? And when I graduated from high school, I reconnected with an ex-boyfriend, ended up being with him, moved in with him, and this after I graduated. And even then, I knew I was not living in my purpose. I was like, this is not my purpose. I thought I should go into the military, so I ended up taking the ASVAB test to go into the Air Force. When it got to the time for me to say, okay, let's make this happen, I backed out. I said, nah, I can't do this. I don't want to be in nobody's war. Oh man, my mind was going all over the place. But I just came to the realization that I have to be thinking about my future because this is not it. Yes, it took time. It really did. I went through a lot of changes throughout my process of trying to figure out my purpose. I went through it. I dealt with a lot of things, dealing with people, dealing with jobs. I had so many jobs. When I didn't like a job, I quit that job. One of my aunts before she passed away, she told me when I was 18 years old, I was working at Sonic's Drive-In, hamburger place, whatever. And this was actually my first full-time job. Now I had many summer jobs, but this was my all year round summer and doing school job. And she asked me, are you happy at that job? And I say, not really. And then she told me, she said, never be in a place that you're unhappy for too long. Get what you need to get from there and move on. And she's like, right now, niece, you need to make some money because you want to move. So stack your papers. When you get your paper, move on, but don't get that job back. Get a different job. And I did that. I got a job working at Wendy's. Same thing, doing burgers, but it was fun. And why was it fun? Because I literally love the people that I worked with. We had so much fun. It was almost like being in a nightclub working there because everyone was from my school that I was going to, and every time every time the manager would hire someone, she would always hire someone that we knew. How crazy is that? But she did. And it was just so fun. So I stayed at that job for about, 2 years almost. And of course, I started feeling that feeling again. It's time to make a change. It's time to move on. And then I moved on to work at the hotel. And I stayed there I did hotel work for maybe 3 years. And then I realized it was time to move on again. Oh, I always had a moment when it was time to move on until I got to Houston and started working at Hewlett Packard. When I started working at Hewlett Packard computers, building computers, I was there for 11 years before. Actually, by the 8th year that I was there, that's when I realized it was time to move on. And when I got there to my 11th year, that's when I actually moved on. And then now I'm at where I'm at as a flight attendant, but not just that. I love being a flight attendant. I love flying around the world. I can talk about this all day long. But I realized, even as a flight attendant, this is not it. Why do I have to keep moving on? That's what I ask myself. Why am I continue to move on? It's because once I have completed my task where I'm at, that's when it's time to move on because your purpose is going to change. It's not going to always be the same. And sometimes we're sent to certain places. We don't know this though, but we are not only just sent, sometimes we're put in certain places to meet a certain particular person. I'm having a flashback at this moment. When I was working at the prison, the penitentiary, and I didn't even mention that in my moving on story, I remember telling this to an inmate. I remember saying this to this person. This person told me he had a life. He had life sentence. That's what he told me. He said, I'm here until I die. And I remember also it was a guy who was there and he had just transferred to the unit. He was 18 years old. And I asked him, why are you here? Like what happened? And he went on to explain. Now, keep in mind, I have the roster. I can see what the person was there for. But sometimes I be wanting to see if they're going to tell the truth or is this person a liar. So he told the truth or whatever. And he told me he was 16 years old, went to juvenile. After that, they put him in there. Well, but he didn't have life. He only had a few more years until he got out. And I remember the guy that had life. Now, I don't know why I talked to them in this way. I just know this was the way I talked to them. The guy who had life in prison, I told him, you're not dead. You're still alive because you have a purpose. God wants you to actually do your purpose while you're here. And there are some people in this place who are going to need somebody to give them encouragement to never come back when they get out. Now, I can't tell you how it's going to be done and what you need to do and anything like that, but don't think that your life is over. It's not. Sometimes being locked up, I said, think about it. In the Bible, a lot of God's disciples were incarcerated, from Paul being incarcerated to Peter being incarcerated to John the Baptist being incarcerated. I mean, I could keep going and going and going about even Joseph being incarcerated. So prison is not the last of you. It is just where you are for you to do and reach somebody. Whoever you're supposed to reach must be coming through the prison, and you're here. You made bad decisions. We all do. But at the same time, you're here. Make it work for you. Don't always continue to make it go against you. Make it work for you. And during this time when I was doing all that talking, I knew that I was on my way out. I knew that I wasn't going to be working at the penitentiary that long. I knew that my days was counting down. Not because I knew I was going to go back to my old job. It was because I just felt it in my spirit, because I had the same feeling I had about all my other jobs. It's time to move on. So that is what I get when I know it's time to move on. So I need you to understand that you just have to know when to listen and when to make the moves. The point that I'm actually making here is honesty is always going to be it's always going to be quieter than bravery. Bravery is loud, but being honest with yourself and using it is going to be quiet. The way honesty sounds, it sounds like I told you, that it drains you, that you no longer are fitting in where you belong, where you think you belong at, but you no longer belong there. So you start feeling that feeling, this no longer fits me. Also, you have to know that you're going to be tired of where you are too. It's going to be like a burnout. I got to get out of here, or I got to make a change. Oh, it's going to feel heavy. You're going to sleep to it. You're going to wake up to it. It's just going to feel heavy and draining. So just know that purpose begins the moment you stop lying to yourself and you literally start listening to yourself. So how do fear keeps you stuck? How do it keep us stuck? Because fear does keep us stuck. I have watched my mother, I have watched other people on how they just so caught and stuck into fear. I watched my cousin. Oh my goodness. I said to myself, this got to be a lesson taught. I got to teach this because somebody else is going through what I'm witnessing here. So fear keeps you stuck by convincing you that alignment is dangerous. That's first and foremost. That peace is irresponsible. Come on now. Peace is actually responsible. It also teaches you that you have to know that wanting more is not selfish. So fear tells you the opposite, that wanting more is selfish, but it's not. Fear tells you stay where you are because it's familiar to you. Don't be that person. I'm going to say it again. Don't be that person, because Familiarity doesn't mean alignment. A lot of time it's disalignment. And staying out of fear just because you are afraid teaches your nervous system that your needs doesn't matter. That is not safety. All right? You don't need that. That is suppressing your needs as well as your feelings. It's suppressing. That's what it is. It's keeping you stuck. Realignment. Let's talk about realignment without forcing. We don't want to force realignment. What we want to do is flow with it. So here's the part I want you to clear your head. Clear your thoughts. Relax. Okay? I want to be clear with you. So I want you to hear me clearly when I say these things. You don't need to quiet your life just to align with it. You don't need to leap. Sometimes people say just jump. You can, but at the same time, when you do that jump, where are you jumping? Where are you jumping? What are you jumping into? Know what you're jumping into. Don't just jump, because you can be jumping in the lake of fire. So please, what are you jumping for? Where are you jumping at? And what are you jumping in? Please pay attention to that. You do not need to blow everything up like some people do. Man, forget this. I don't need this job no more. I don't need you no more. Gone, man. Yeah, it'll still sometime work out for you, but then sometime it goes against you, and you don't need all that noise, okay? So you don't have to make a lot of noise. Just be subtle in your decision. Purpose often begins with loosening yourself up, loosening your expectations, loosening obligations that drains you, loosening relationships that requires you to shrink. We most of the time have that as our problem. We're around the wrong people. Some people don't want to see your growth, even though they don't tell you that to your face, but they're showing it by the way they treat you. One honest boundary is what we need. That's what you need. One truthful conversation with yourself is what you need. One small decision that prioritizes your peace is what you need. That's alignment. When you have those things in place, that is when you are aligned. And that is when you can start living in your purpose. So I want to ask you a few questions. I always do this because I got to get you to thinking. I got to get you to start using your brain for the better and not for all this chaotic stuff that's going on in the world today. Take a breath. I want you to breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold it. Now I want you to release slowly out of your mouth. Yes, okay. I want you to reflect on these questions here. Number 1, these are the questions I want you to ask yourself and answer them truthfully. You need honesty to be aligned, all right? So number 1, what am I afraid will happen if I choose myself? All right. Number 2, where am I calling fear being realistic? So I think I'm about to say that again so you can understand that question. Where am I calling fear being realistic? So to make it clear for you to understand, some people have to know that if you're realistic with yourself, you'll realize that you're actually afraid. So where in your life that you keep calling yourself being realistic, but you actually afraid. So that's actually a twisted question there. I can say, for instance, you got some people, and I have known some of these people, where they feel like if they just step out on faith or make a change, that what if it's just the wrong decision? What if I ruin everything that I've worked so hard for? I've been doing this for so many years, and why should I even think about making a decision and changing that? Okay, is that realistic? Is that you talking, or is that fear talking? So, number 4, what would feel releasing to loosen up, or to release? So what is it that's going to feel releasing to you? It's going to make you feel relaxed when you loosen up, or just release it, let it go. Is it a relationship you might need to let go of that you've been trying to hold on to just because you want to prove a point to everyone around you who said your relationship wasn't going to work in the first place? Because there's a lot of people who went through that. I can give you an example of two famous people. One of them passed away. The other one is still here, but suffered a huge loss with his family, his children and stuff, as well as her. And that's Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. When people saw that they was together, and when they got married, people said, "Oh, that relationship it's not gonna last. That marriage is not gonna last." Even though they knew that they wasn't good for each other, they still stayed together just to prove the world wrong. And in their time of being together, they was wrong for each other. And they decided they're going to stay together anyway. So you got all these years of just putting up with each other and living the wrong kind of lifestyle. Yeah, they had money and it was famous, but the problem is that they wasted so many years doing that, when they could have just said, forget about the people. Look here, we ain't good for each other, so let's just move on. Stop trying to prove everybody wrong, all right? You don't need to answer these questions today. You just need to know that awareness is enough, all right? So I hope this helped you guys, and I hope you know that fear doesn't mean to stop. It means to listen. When you feel the fear right there rising up in you, listen to what it's actually saying to you, and understand that if I'm afraid to make these changes, then this must be what I'm supposed to be doing. Because if fear wasn't here, why would I be afraid if I'm not doing the right thing? If I am doing the right thing and I'm afraid, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, or what I'm about to do is what I'm supposed to be doing. So just know, it's not always you that's talking too. Sometimes it's the adversary that's talking to you, that wants to make you stop what you are actually supposed to be doing. And purpose doesn't ask you to be fearless now. It doesn't ask you to do that. It asks you to be honest with yourself. I need you to be honest with yourself, because you'll be able to understand where you're placed at in this world. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about trauma, survival mode, and why healing always come for you. And it always come before your purpose do. You need to heal first before your purpose is aligned. I had to go through some healing before I was able to do what I'm doing today. I'm telling you guys, when I was not in my right mind, and I mean, when I was not making best decisions, I was making emotional decisions off of the things that I was feeling and what was being done to me and the choices that I had been making. I was upset about the things that I was doing, picking the wrong man to get married to, and knowing of my heart of hearts that I was with the wrong person, but I was afraid to let him go because I was really afraid of being alone. Not just being alone, of no one actually loving me in that capacity to marry me. That's how I felt. Not knowing that all I needed to do was to release that. And then the right person came along, and now I'm married to the right man. Because I had gotten to the point where I didn't care no more. If I get married, I get married. I don't, I don't. But at that point in my life, I had actually told myself I wasn't going to get married no more after I divorced my second husband. But at the same time, I really know that I really want you guys to be able to take this, what I'm actually sharing with you guys, and understand that peace isn't procrastination, it's preparation. You have to prepare yourself for peace. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. I'm Alayla, signing out. Alayla.
Are you feeling overwhelmed and exhausted by stress? Introducing Stress Management with Imaging Coaching, your ticket to a calmer, more balanced life. In this journey you will be taking with us here at Imaging Coaching, we'll equip you with powerful techniques and tools you can use to conquer stress, regain control, and transform your life. From deep breathing exercises to mindfulness practices, you'll discover the tools to relax your mind and body. Come join us on this transformative path and unlock a world of inner peace and resilience. Don't let stress hold you back any longer. Take charge of your well-being today with Imaging Coaching, your stress management team. Discover clarity. Defeat stress through Imaging Coaching at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com, at imagingcoaching.com.